Now now I'm curious if you think it's awkward. I think you're in like this super awkward thing here where you've got Brady waiting in the wings. Maybe awkward's not the right word, because I feel like awkward has a negative connotation. It's not negative, but it's a little bizarre that you get bumped up, you're with Greg Olsen, it comes out Brady's going to be an analyst for 10 years. Now he's playing, obviously, and you're doing your thing with Greg. So do you think about the Brady thing and potentially working with him? Is there any communication with Tom? Like, what is that whole deal at this point?
Yeah, so multiple layers to this. I don't even remotely think about it right now. And I can't. Like, so when this all went down, I'll give you a little backstory. It all went down, obviously. And it's how, with Greg and the terms of, whenever Tom's done playing or whatever the situation is. And so, texted with Tom and, that the basic, text and back and forth. And then that was it. Like I said to myself, I can't think about that until and if it happens. Right. Like I can't. I got too much on my own plate. And I also have so much love and respect for Greg. And then, Greg and I talked about it openly for a while. And our thing is just like, let's just enjoy the hell out of this ride. And, we'll see how long it goes and where it goes. Like you don't know what tomorrow is. So right. I know that sounds cliche, but that's truthfully what happened. And then, the only next thing was we obviously have a lot of Tom games is when we had them the first time. Both guys were awesome. Like, we're in the production meeting and Greg just diffused the whole situation and Brady was great busting balls. And it was fun. Like they made
Can you share how Greg broke the ice there or what went down? Did he have a specific thing he said? Or?
Yeah, I'll tell you that I can tell you one thing. On some of the other stuff I'll leave with us, but it was, just when we came on, and they know each other.
Right.
But when we came on, we're just shooting the shit at first, and like you usually do before you actually start these meetings. And Greg said, and hopefully he doesn't mind me saying this, but Greg said, "Tom, I got to tell you, this TV thing sucks. It's just, it's so." But it was great. We were dying laughing, and it was fun. We had a good back and forth. So
and Tom seems like the type of person who has a sense of humor that would appreciate that kind of comment.
He absolutely did. And he was great, like busting chops back. And, I just think I haven't thought about it for one single second since the news broke. I just can't. And he can't either, by the way. So that's the story.
I think about it week to week because for me, it's going to be content. So I'm like, and the funny thing with Brady is it started out where it was like, they were playing badly. He looked miserable, and I'm like, okay, well, he's definitely retiring this year. He'll be at Fox next year. I got to get him on the podcast, maybe, all this stuff. Then it's, then the personal stuff happens. You're like, well, now who knows? Maybe he'll play. Maybe now they win 2 games. It's like, oh, he's going to play now. It's such a roller coaster with him. You just never know what's going to happen. So it makes sense for you not to think about it because who the hell knows what he's going to do? He's one of these guys. I think you're not going to be able to predict. That's for sure.
Yeah, I can't. I just can't. See where it goes in the future.
I do think what's fascinating from your standpoint, you mentioned, I was going to ask it as a separate, but the fact that you do Bucks games and have these meetings with him and, it's like, oh, may see you next year, may see you in 2 years, may see you in 5 years,
It's just like everything else though. It's like, people are, like my, friends or people that I meet, how do you not root for a team or whatever? Because, obviously you grew up, rooting for teams. I'm a sports nut. Right. That's why I got into this. You just don't think about it. There's never been one time when you go into a game and I don't know. It just doesn't enter your mind. I'm sure most people don't believe that, but I
believe you.
Not enter my mind.
I believe you. I believe you. What do you think about now? You're going to be working Thanksgiving, we mentioned, and you're going to be working Christmas Day. You'll have Packers at Dolphins, which will be decent because the Packers are out of it, but they'll have Rodgers. But the Dolphins are hot too. But what about working those holidays, not being with family? Is that do you care? What's that like for you? Because some people,
you know what, Jim? It is what it is, right? It's if you're thinking of working, not, having weekends and holidays off, you're probably not in the right field. My family's going to come to Dallas. I did Cowboys radio for a couple of years on they had a national radio network for Compass. So we spent Thanksgivings in Dallas before, and we had a great time. You just, when you're doing this, holidays and birthdays and things are not they don't have to be like on the day, right?
Right.
Like they don't have to be on the day. I don't think I've ever worked Christmas before. I worked Christmas Eve before. That'll be a weird one. So I don't know what I'm doing yet, family wise, for that. And I love Christmas.
The
So,
biggest problem, yeah, see, like if you love Christmas, here's the problem you're going to have. It's not that you're working on Christmas. You're going to be in Miami for Christmas. You don't want it to be like 70 and you want a little 20-degree, cloudy. Yeah, snow. Like that's going to be the weird thing more than anything.
So I will say, if I still lived in Jersey, I would have a really hard time with it because, like, cold. But I've been in California now for a decade, and it's like, Christmas Day is 65 degrees. So I'm with you. You feel like you need a little cold weather, a little flurries, and all that. It still might be a little weird. Maybe I'll throw on a Santa cap. Everything will be fine. I don't know.
Couple more things on football. Then I want to ask you a couple of things about baseball because obviously you do the studio for Fox. It was amazing everything that happened in the offseason with all of the announcers switching and you getting promoted. And it just seemed like, and we talked about the Brady thing, another layer in all this. You get bumped up to the A crew with Greg, and it's the year Fox has the Super Bowl. Right. Do you feel any pressure with that at all? And not because of the viewership number, but just, the Super Bowl has become a holiday in this country. It is, whether, I don't know if broadcasters want to admit it, you're calling a Super Bowl, it's a big freaking deal. Any pressure, or you're looking forward to it and you don't even care about pressure? What about that?
It's a huge deal. Look, I think for me, there's a couple things. It's historic in terms of the amount of people that have done it in the world, right? There's been,
right.
It's either 10 or 11 play-by-play announcers that have called the Super Bowl before. So, right. Just being like in that company is amazing to me, and I'm fortunate to be there. So that's number one. Yeah, I'm super jacked to do the freaking Super Bowl. It's like, I had Super Bowl parties every year growing up as a little kid, and then when I got older, I had my own place. The Super Bowl was the thing. And, I'm not nervous. I'm excited. When we get there, like that week of, I'm sure there'll be some nerves, but I don't know. I feel like having some nerves is a good thing. I remember years ago, I like it. I'll channel it, and I can't be like nervous about, screwing up or whatever. I just got to do the game, like the way I always do the game. I never want to screw up. Every once in a while it happens. But the first time I did a playoff game, which was my first year at Fox, 2013, I just remember we were in Seattle, and game started. The place going nuts. Legion of Boom. It was crazy. We're taking it in, and director's taking shots, and I'm just kind of taking it in, and I'm laying out, and he's kind of like go, because I was kind of like zoning out. I was like, oh, this is awesome. It's like, oh, hey, all right, here we go. So I'm sure it'll be like just like that moment of, maybe an hour before maybe kickoff, like, holy shit, it's like, I'm actually doing the Super Bowl. But I'm excited, man. It'll be cool.
Now, you've been doing this for a long time, which, again, when you got bumped up when Joe left from B to A, it's not like the biggest deal in the world because, like you said, you've been doing this a long time. Everyone thinks you're great. It's not. But I'm just curious, when you do make that move, do you reach out to, I don't know, Al or Tirico or anyone for advice, or you don't really need advice at this point, or did you seek any?
I just talk to people in general, but I didn't, when that happened, I didn't, I didn't reach out and take a bunch of notes and call people so I did talk to Joe down the road, not like right when it happened, but before the season, we talked for a while just on just different stuff, handling everything and just some of the, certain things. So I had a long conversation with him, which was great. I text some of the other guys here and there. But I don't know. I think it's just, to me, I felt like I just needed to keep doing what I was doing. It's not to say that not to say that I can't learn. It's not to say that I'm not looking to learn, but I feel like the more that I put in my head of like, okay, got to do this. What about this? Then I would just mess me up. So I decided to talk with Joe. I just text organically with, Tirico or anybody else and just, in other announcers, just in general, but I didn't have like multiple phone calls of how to do a Super Bowl. I know how those guys have done it. I've watched them all. I'm not trying to be them. I can't be them. They've done it. They've been in that seat for a long time. So maybe when we get closer, like when we get closer to that week or get in the playoffs, I might revisit it. But no, I other than Joe, I kind of left it at that.